A troubling and terrifying conflict in and of itself, the Vietnam War cost many lives, but those who died didn't always stay dead, or so according to some men who fought it. These are a few stories in particular that pose this terrifying and creepy question: were the dead coming back to life in the deep jungles of Vietnam? While carrying out their duty, Marines in Vietnam would often try to recruit locals to help guide them in the area of operations. In some areas, however, the locals were fearful of going into the densest, darkest parts of the jungle. The reason they found was the local superstition that phantoms, called the Ma, supposedly occupied the trees there. Locals also warned the US troops that reanimated corpses awaited them in the trees, because these Ma phantoms would possess the bodies of the dead. The Marines, of course, shrugged the stories off as folklore. Since Vietnam was a very spiritual place, they had heard many stories from the superstitious local folk, so at this point it was almost laughable to them. Starting in 1965, however, it allegedly became very real. American troops in the jungles of Vietnam began reporting seeing ghostly apparitions moving supernaturally through the trees. Others reported fanged creatures with black eyes that would try and kidnap and consume unsuspecting troops. In one encounter, the beasts were found to be bulletproof. Over 400 rounds were fired at the creatures, and none of them seemed to be fazed by what would have annihilated any other mortal being. And in several other instances, it was found that the corpses of the freshly killed Viet Cong were coming back to life. It didn't matter what time of day it was, the corpses lived by both day and night. They chained several of them up for High Command to observe and decide a way forward. And after observing the reanimated corpses, their eyes white and flesh rotting, yet still living and hungering for meat, they decided to conduct several morbid experiments, and finally a decision was made. Since the triple canopy jungle kept the sunlight from hitting them, the military's top brass decided to get rid of it. Besides cloaking an elusive enemy while they were alive, they were now dealing with supernatural forces beyond their understanding. And this is supposedly why the US military developed Agent Orange and napalm. Agent Orange to kill the top canopy, and napalm to annihilate anything that could be left standing, dead or alive. And anything that survived both of these weapons would be finished off by the flamethrowers. Another creepy tale comes from a man who lived one of the most dangerous jobs in all of the US military during the Vietnam War, being an Army tunnel rat. For those of you who don't know, the Army tunnel rats were troops who would crawl into NVA and Viet Cong tunnels to eradicate the troops that hid below the surface. These tunnels often interconnected for tens of miles, housing both troops, munitions, food, and apparently secret weapons. It was one of the war's most dangerous jobs, crawling around in the dark, avoiding booby traps, and trying to kill the enemy before they killed you. This tunnel rat was crawling into the deepest tunnel he had ever seen, along with his partner. When they finally arrived in the main room, they were astonished that no booby traps were set, and an oil lamp was still lit. The only thing they found was a tarp, but when they moved the tarp, it revealed a set of stone stairs moving deeper underground. The stairs were odd, and definitely not built by VC. They looked centuries old. The two men cautiously climbed down the stairs, guns drawn, when they came upon another tarp. Cautiously, the rats moved the tarp with their pistols and fixed their flashlights on 10 or so VC. But these VC had blank faces, looking off into space, bodies rocking back and forth, and their eyes were a solid black color. The men waved their flashlights and weapons in their faces, but nothing stopped their rocking motion. They now observed that their weapons were rusted in a pile in the corner, and at the head of the room was a golden icon of a naked woman, except the lower half of her body featured 8 tentacles instead of human legs. One of the men felt compelled to touch the statue, but right before he made contact, he was stopped by his partner. Shortly after this, they came to a consensus that they needed to leave. They decided to rig the room in the entrance with C4 and bail as fast as possible. But as they were leaving, they began to hear a woman's voice call out to them, asking them to stay. After exiting the hole, the tunnel was bombed and collapsed. The incident went unreported due to the strange nature of it all and not wanting to risk any embarrassment or their mental state being called into question. So that's a few interesting stories I came across. What are your thoughts on the whole thing? Were zombies taking out troops in the deep jungles of Vietnam during the war? Were the VC worshipping some kind of strange ancient deity? Let me know down in the comments below. I personally think anything is possible, but it could just be really well-constructed folklore or short stories. I tried to find some official documents, but couldn't find any, but still made for some entertainment nonetheless. I also wanted to give a shout out to Of Sundered's son. He's the artist that made some of the stills for this video. I'll go ahead and leave a link here for his channel. Make sure to go check him out. I know he's got some new videos coming out here pretty soon. Don't forget to like this video as well and subscribe with the bell so that you never miss a new upload. This has been Cody with Mystery Archives. Thank you so much for watching and have yourself a wonderful day.